of Comics and Coffee,
All
the
right.
show where we talk about comics and all of the bullshit that surrounds them. Starting directly across the table from me is...
I'm Mitch.
And I'm Andrew. And just like that, it's the smallest show in the history of Work in Progress podcasting.
It'll be good.
Only two of us today. Jake is taken up with being a little bitch. But actually he's just busy and has some stuff going on. Ian is still recovering from whatever the hell was killing him.
The plague.
And no one else really knows anything about comic books. So there's no point in dragging anyone else onto the show. You know, we could have called, Tess or Caitlin or Brandon or whoever. And it's just like their contribution would have been basically the same as if they weren't here. Kinda. So it's just me and you today.
All right, sounds good.
So we've got a jam-packed episode ahead. Full of dialogue.
Woo! Full of dialogue.
I guess I'll start with the news that I just ran into. And
okay.
Maybe I'll just read it straight off. It would appear that Gal Gadot, who is Wonder Woman in the
I heard about
Batman
this.
Superman stuff, apparently her contract details came to light, and she's been signed for 3 films.
Yeah.
One of which will be Batman vs Superman or Man of Steel 2 or whatever they're going to call it.
Whatever you're calling it, yeah.
Then a Justice League team-up film and a Wonder Woman solo film.
Mm-hmm.
So, We're getting a Wonder Woman film, is my big takeaway from this.
Yeah, I know they've tried rebooting it as a TV series a couple of years ago. Didn't you say you saw the pilot?
I didn't. I think that's Jake who saw the pilot and said it was just awful beyond all reasonable thought.
The actress was quite attractive, but I only saw her the stills of her costume, and they were going with the full stepmom Wonder Woman costume. So, the pants, the coat.
Well, yeah, because it's a little racy for TV, that Wonder Woman outfit.
Sure. But, even then, when they posted, for, the New 52 reboot, they posted, the new Wonder Woman costume and certain pants. And right off the bat, for the first issue, they were like, screw it, we're going with the original. So, yeah.
So, but, yeah, I heard that pilot for that show was really, really awful. Which is probably why it never came to light.
Probably.
So this will be, I guess, the first big Wonder Woman thing that's happened in
a long time.
While.
Since what's her name? Linda Carter? Is that her name?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Was that her? Yeah. I don't know much
Wonder
about
Woman.
the history of Wonder Woman.
All I know is the song, and that she would spin around in a circle, and then you hear this "do," and she would change into costume.
Yeah, it's just if you were to list if I were to list all of the major DC characters in the order of which I cared about them, she would be at the very bottom of the list. I
hate to say it, but I agree too.
Yeah, and it's not even anything sexist or anything. I'm all for great female characters and everything. It's just Wonder Woman just doesn't mean anything to me. Mm-hmm. But I've watched worse superhero movies, I'm sure. So that'll be fun for everyone.
Did you ever see Catwoman?
I never saw Catwoman. That's one of the few superhero movies I haven't watched.
That should be a whole podcast.
Here it's quite awful.
That could be a lot of fun to do.
And let's see. Here's a thing that's not so much news, but just kind of speculation stuff.
Okay.
Well, the Y the Last Man, the rights were scooped up by, I think, New Line Cinema a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And they bought the rights to make it a movie. But since that happened, it's kind of been trapped in development hell, as they call it, in the
That's a good
world of television and movies and video games and all that stuff.
Yeah.
When something just keeps, running through all these changes with writers and creators and all that stuff. Duke Nukem Forever is a great example from video games.
That is a good example.
They basically announced it was getting made in 1999 or whatever, and then it went through just so many different developers and people who were making it, and then their studio fell apart or whatever. That game didn't end up coming out until 2011 or so. Mm-hmm. So, Y the Last Man's basically been in development hell. It's had a lot of writers and directors attached to it. But I guess the big thing that's coming up now is that New Line's rights to those rights.
Okay.
Basically, their rights to Y the Last Man are going to expire this year. Mm-hmm. So if they don't get a project off the ground in the next couple of months or so, then the rights would revert to I guess whoever has just the base rights to that. Whether that would be just Brian K. Vaughan himself, or if it would be
I didn't know if it was under a company or something. Yeah.
But either way, the rights would revert to them, and then there might be a jump ball to be like, okay, now who wants to make a Y the Last Man movie? And then
sure, yeah. Well, didn't the Zachary Levi,
Zachary Levi really wants to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I can see it. When I was reading the books a couple months ago, I was kind of picturing him in the role, and I'm like, this really works.
Yeah, because I like seeing him be part of stuff nowadays.
He'd be a great choice. The only concern I would have is that he's not like an A-list actor, and if this were going to be like a big movie, I don't know if they'd want to stick him right in front of it. Though honestly, if it's me, I don't make it a movie. I shoot for like a TV miniseries because
that's a good way of putting
it. It's a bit long of a plot for a movie, especially if you want to flesh out all of it, and it's all worth fleshing out. So if I were whoever gets a hold of these things, if New Line lets the rights revert, I would seriously look into talking to HBO or AMC or whoever and be like,
that'd be pretty
if we were to do like a 12-episode series of just Y the Last Man with no second season or anything, because that would be just awful. Don't try and make more of it.
Don't keep going, yeah.
But if they just did like a 1-season like miniseries,
that'd be cool.
Man, I think that would be a really good way to do that. But either way, I guess New Line's rights expire this year, so it's probably good news for anyone who wants to see Y the Last Man made into a movie or TV show, because it's going to mean if New Line really wants to do it, they're going to have to start doing it now. Like they've got to be like, all right,
they finally have the pressure of a deadline.
Yeah, and that can be a big deal. We've seen that with the Marvel people in the last couple of years with Daredevil and Fantastic Four rights and whatever. People just trying to get projects pushed through so that they can hold on to the rights. Sony with Spider-Man is a great example.
That's a fantastic example.
They were about to lose out on that. They were like, fuck that, let's make another Spider-Man movie.
And now they already have, out of that one movie, 5 more. Oh my god.
They're going to hold on to those rights.
That's kind of insane.
But, either New Line's going to have to hurry something along, or, if the rights do revert and it kind of becomes that jump ball, whoever wants this, again, it's going to end up in the hands of someone who wants it, probably. Someone's going to look at that property and be like, yeah, we can do something with that. Let's take it. And then they'll probably immediately start working with it. So...
Well, we got a lot of superhero movies coming out this year.
We do.
Like, I think Cap comes out in April.
Cap in April, Guardians in the fall.
Guardians in the fall. Okay, yeah. I know Amazing 2 is coming out in May. So we got a lot of stuff coming out.
We got that's pretty much the big 3 this year. I don't think anything... else
I can't think of anything else. I don't know when the Netflix deal is going to happen.
Yeah,
because even then, that's going to take a while.
I'm really eager to find out what's going on with that, though.
Yeah,
I can't wait for that to
I'm kind of stoked. I want to see if there's. This is a long shot, but hey, if I can be part of the Star Wars casting call, why can't I be part of like a Daredevil casting call?
No, totally.
So,
cool. But the thing there is because Netflix does that whole drop a whole season at once kind of thing. They're literally going to have to produce the whole series before we see it. It's not going to be like a TV show where they're going to throw together like the first half of a season, and then at the time that's airing, they'll be working on the second half. This is how Netflix does it. So it'll probably be a while before we see the fruits of any of that.
Probably.
Hopefully we won't have to wait too
soon.
long.
Yeah, because I'm really excited.
Because I'm more about Daredevil than anything.
Same here.
They can do a great job with Daredevil, but that's
just us talking.
That's just me. So yeah, I guess that's the big stuff I'm seeing is just that the Y the Last Man rights are going to revert, and I guess
that's
we're getting
cool though. I didn't know about that. I still need to read it really badly.
You do need to read it really badly. It's pretty fantastic. I started Runaways Volume 2
Yes, that's
night.
right. What do you think? Have you met Victor?
Yes, I have. Victor.
So,
I read Runaways Volume 1 for the first time this week as a budding fan of Brian K. Vaughan.
Yes.
And
I'm pretty sure me and Jake have been plugging it like crazy too. Yeah.
Both of you keep talking it up to me. So you've read the whole thing.
I've only read up to the end of Volume 2.
Okay.
A lot of Volume 3 I read about like on Wikipedia because I never had access to it.
Yeah.
This is back in the days of Borders.
Yeah. Wow. That's going into the Wayback Machine.
Yes. But no, and the only problem was like the first thing I got was Volume 2. Like I ended up finding like a discount price for like the omnibus of it.
Yeah.
So I read all of that and did a little bit of research going into it, but I just really like the characters a lot.
Well, that would kind of be a bummer because it would kind of blow the whole twist for you in the first volume.
But like I went back and even though I like researched it, there's a difference between reading about it and then actually like getting to read the comic itself because then the art is, adding a lot, and I was just kind of like, oh crap, after starting over Volume 1 when I finally got access to it, I kind of forgot about the spoilers. Like, I get so involved in the story, I kind of
I've been
willingly
there.
block out the spoilers, and then I got to it, I was like, oh no! Oh wait, I knew that.
Oh wait, yeah, no, that makes total sense.
All right.
Well, it's a several years old book, so I don't have any problem
Yes.
spoiling it on the show. I just wanted to make sure we were both on the same page. So I'd like to at least talk about what I felt about Volume 1.
Yeah.
I'm not very far into Volume 2, so,
I'm not going to spoil much with that.
Runaways was kind of weird for me. With Saga and Y, I felt like Brian Vaughan got off to a pretty sharp start. Like, right out of the gate, you're kind of drawn into each of those books.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas with Runaways, where I liked how they ended the first issue with them, like, watching the ritual sacrifice, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's a good cliffhanger.
That's a really good cliffhanger.
But then I thought for the first couple issues, it was just kind of like taking its time with stuff, and like, it was trying to put together like a competent origin story for them, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was probably like 6, 7, or 8 issues in, and I was like, I mean, this is all right, but I'm not super compelled by it. And it's probably right after that fucking vampire kid leaves.
I didn't like the vampire kid.
Yeah, well, I didn't. The thing I really didn't like about the vampire kid, and I like that they kind of at least hinted at it in one of his dialogue bits, but like, vampire kid comes around and basically turns everyone into an idiot.
I love
how
we keep
2
calling
issues.
him vampire kid.
Yeah, I don't remember his fucking
I don't
name.
either.
But he turns everyone into like an idiot for like 2 issues. Like, everyone's just doing really stupid, uncharacteristic things. And I was like, this drives me nuts. And then as he's fighting,
we might
one
need to give a
chick.
quick recap for what Runaways is, though. Also,
I guess we could.
If that's cool with you,
I guess
yeah.
we could. Runaways is basically these 6 kids who get together every year because their parents get together every year. For like business meetings.
They're kind of forced to hang out once a year, and they all kind of hate each other,
yeah.
and they're like, "This is really boring."
But they're all kind of crammed into a room together like once a year because their parents have to go talk about business stuff, and you kids have fun while we're doing these things. So Runaways starts with one of those days coming along, and they just get fucking bored, and I guess start snooping around.
They
and
find
find
like,
secret passageway in the kid's house. This kid's named Alex. And they crawl through the secret passageway, and they find like a one-way mirror that they can look out into the business meeting room, and they see their parents all dressed in like weird fucking
hoods
clothes
and garments,
and they're like ritually sacrificing a young girl. And they're like, "Oh shit!"
As people would do.
So then they immediately like go back and they're like, "So our parents are fucking crazy, and we need to get the shit out of
we
here."
need to run away.
So they all run away, and as they're all kind of like gathering intel, quotation marks, against their parents, they all kind of discover that they all have their own little unique things that they've got. Alex doesn't have shit. Alex is just kind of like a child prodigy.
He's pretty smart, yeah.
He's just a really smart dude, but he's not like superhuman or anything. One of them's like a...
What's cool about this also is like it's very drenched in like the Marvel universe. So like one of them is a mutant, one of them has like, it's all that kind of stuff. So like, you said,
well,
Alex,
and they talk about stuff in the Marvel universe. Like they're like, "Oh, Captain America wouldn't have this problem or whatever."
Oh yeah,
it's just like it takes place in the Marvel universe. It's not like other comics where they, none of that shit's around. They literally live in a world full of superheroes. So, but yeah, one of them is like an alien who can like fly around and shoot like lasers and stuff.
Oh yeah, she's kind of like Starfire, but she's cool. Yeah.
One of them's a really young girl, like 11, and she's a mutant with super strength.
It's adorable.
There's
Molly.
One of the older girls who's got a velociraptor that she can communicate with telepathically.
Which is kind of a cool
one of
thing.
them can summon like a staff from inside of her soul that she can
She's
cast
a wizard,
like spells with.
There's my favorite Chase.
And then there's Chase, who again, like Alex, doesn't have any powers, but his parents have developed all this crazy technology.
His parents
shit.
are like the tech guys, but what's cool about Chase is he's very much a jock. Like he loves sports. His parents think he's an idiot.
He's a bit of a brain dead dude.
Yeah,
But
he gets their fire gauntlets and boots
and X-ray goggles.
And X-ray goggles that he loves being a guy about.
Yeah. So,
if anyone grows, by the way, this is just a very small spoiler. In Volume 2, out of all the characters, I feel like Chase gets the most growth in him.
I believe
and it's very cool.
He's already showing a little bit of it in the early issues.
Oh yeah, well, because like at the end of Volume 1, he loses all of that stuff.
Yeah, and he ends up just driving around their giant leapfrog guy.
Their giant frog robot. So he really does a lot of cool stuff in this next volume.
But yeah, so this vampire kid comes along and basically tries to kill them all through dumb shit, and they all act like idiots for like 2 or 3 issues. Once they get rid of him, though, I felt like it really started picking up. they have that thing where they run into Cloak and Dagger, which I thought was
right.
cool.
I like
and
Cloak
again,
and
it's a good way of establishing, like, yes, we are in the Marvel universe.
Oh yeah. I think they try to recruit Molly for the X-Men like a handful of times.
Yeah.
And every time she's like, "This is dumb. You guys are dumb."
so Cloak and Dagger are here, and there's this big misunderstanding, and then eventually they're all like, they're back on the same page. And the Runaways are like, so our parents are fucking crazy. You need to go tell the Avengers that our parents are fucking crazy. And Cloak and Dagger are like, okay, we're gonna go do that. But then they get offed, like,
oh yeah,
while they're standing around doing whatever. So that doesn't pan out for the poor Runaways. So while all this is coming together, the parents we learn more about the parents' motives. They've basically been meeting with these giant godlike dudes for the last like 25 years.
I can't pronounce the name either. They're like the Gibborum or the Gibborum.
Yeah,
or something.
I think Gibborum or whatever. But basically, they brought all of their parents to like this holding chamber like so many years ago, and we're like, listen, humans. This planet kind of sucks. If you help us blow it up, we will grant half of you eternal life. The other half will die with the rest. It'll be great.
It'll be fun.
So the Pride, as the parents group calls themselves,
it's a cool bad guy team name.
Yeah, it is. I like it a lot. Eventually conspire at one point. They're like, there's 12 of them, and we're granted 6 spots to immortality. But if we all had one kid, then we could just have the kid take our spot, and that way our 6 children get the spot to immortality, and our lineage lives on through them. And I'm like, oh, sweet, that's cool.
It's a cool little dark motive for,
So they're still like Butts evil. But
Butts evil. Yeah.
But they are, when they say that we're doing this for our children, they're being as sincere as they know how to be in their horrible
they're still parents.
Evilness.
Which is creepy.
But what I really like in the later issues as it's coming together, Alex learns all this from reading one of the Pride's books or whatever.
Yeah, isn't he like the only one who can actually like understand?
Yeah, he uses like a decoder ring, and he's because he's a prodigy.
I forgot about the decoder ring.
The only one intelligent enough to be able to put the pieces together. So, what's great is that the Runaways start figuring out what their parents are up to, and then there's also 4 of the members of the Pride, 2 of the pairs, who don't like this plan. They're like...
Which ones are those? I forgot.
They're, which
is it the Time Travelers?
I think it's like the Time Travelers and the aliens, maybe.
Okay.
But either way, they're basically like, here's a better plan. How about the 4 of us stick together, off the rest of the Pride, and then we and our kids get immortality. And so... What's great is it starts heading to this final confrontation where the Runaways are going to track down their parents, and their parents are all in the same room, and the Runaways want to get rid of them, but then there's also 4 members of the Pride who are trying to fuck all this shit up. And that's when I'm starting to get, this is getting
all that
good.
Fun backstabbing.
This is cranking up. And so in the and one of the great arcing mysteries of the book is that you find out in like the 3rd issue or something, after everyone runs away, a note gets left for the parents. It's like, hey, I know what you guys are doing, and I know you're doing it for the right reasons, and I'm going to give you intel on these little bitches as we run away so that you can find us all and keep your shit going. So the whole time the book's going, you're like, there's a mole in the midst of the Runaways, which is cool. So you get to like this big final confrontation, and Alex eventually reveals himself as like the
mole,
as the mole, which like I loved it because I had not considered him at all.
Exactly,
reading the book because he's just like portrayed as the main character, kind of. He's the first guy you meet when the book starts. He's parents
pretty much the
Yeah,
protagonist.
they meet at his house. He seems like he's the main character of the book, and so I never considered it that it would be him. I was thinking any of the other 5 would make sense. This guy, no way. So it ends up being him,
really
and then
well.
It made sense to me after it's revealed as him because I was like, he's the only one that doesn't have powers. This makes a lot of sense.
Well, he ends up being really smart too because like as the confrontation's getting closer, he starts like borrowing other people's things. Like the girl with the dinosaur is like, "Here's my dinosaur," and he's like,
"Well, yeah." She's like, "If anything happens to me, I transfer control of my dinosaur to you."
Yeah.
And so one of the things he does is he like immediately knocks her out when they get to the confrontation, and he ends up taking the girl's staff and he gets the fire gauntlets. And like the last panel of like the 14th issue or so is like him with the fucking gauntlets and the staff and the dinosaur at his back, being like, "You bitches are in trouble."
I remember that page. Well, doesn't he try and save the magic user girl?
Yes, because his girlfriend is like the little Asian magic user girl. And his kind of plan ends up being the same as like that faction of the Pride who just wanted them and their children. He's like, I'm going to save you and your folks and me and my folks, and we're going to do this. Yeah. We're going to save you and me together because I love you. And she just fucking punches him like.
forget how they get out of it. Like, I know...
They end up...
These are total spoilers, but the book's been out forever, by the way.
She gets her staff back, and Gertrude wakes up and gets her raptor back. And then they end up like breaking the container that's got the sacrificed girl's soul in it, which is what they're offering to the dudes. And then Alex, in his infinite foolishness, is like, no, it's okay. I accept blame for this, giant gods. I'm working to help you, and I'm sorry this happened, but we're going to beat these fucking kids. And the gods are like, all right, we'll just take your soul instead. And just kill Alex. And then, the Gaborim go fucking crazy and just start slaughtering members of the Pride. And the Runaways all manage to get out, and... The last issue of the series is like Captain America being like, "Hey kids, heard you needed a hand."
Hi, I'm Captain America.
Captain America.
I've been gone this entire time.
And so he bails them out, and then we cut to like a couple months later where they've all kind of been put into like homes for orphan children and shit. And but they all meet together, and they're all like, "Fuck this, let's run away.
Let's run away."
Bump up. And so they all end up dashing off, and then I've just started volume 2 where it's just another adventure with all them running away together. So, but I did really like it. I really like how it, like I said, comes on strong at the end. It doesn't start as well as some of his other books did for me, but once it all starts coming together, I thought it was
ends pretty good. Yeah,
an awesome series, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of it. Though I'm immediately hesitant because in like the first issue of volume 2, there's like time travel. I was like, oh god.
It's a little bit, but it brings up a really cool idea.
Yeah.
So like it pays off for it.
Nothing good ever came from time travel, Mitch.
Not really.
Nothing good.
Not really.
But I'll give it a chance because it's a good book so far, and I'm okay with that. And so there's some like D-list superheroes they're up against nearly going like fucking the Darkhawk, is that it?
Yeah! Only the coolest dude ever. I saw earlier.
He palled around with Nova a little bit.
I found like this guy on YouTube a couple years ago was like, these are my top 10 underrated superheroes, and Darkhawk was on there, and I was just kind of like, I don't know what he does, and I really don't care.
Yeah, I only know about him because he was in some of the Nova stuff from a couple years ago.
I found him in a couple issues of stuff, but I think he was in Avengers Arena. Which, again, the only reason why I was actually really excited for Avengers Arena was, ever since Volume 3 of Runaways ended, people have been wanting to try and start the book up, so they've had a lot of crossovers. Like, I think in Fear itself, they have a crossover with the Young Avengers that I don't like, and they mostly do crossovers with them, but no one's touched them, really. Like, no one's been using the rights until, like, the Marvel Now thing. In Avengers Arena, we got Nico, the Spell Girl, and we got Chase, which I was like, my favorite one. And then Victor, who's in Volume 2, starts being a big character in Volume 2, is in Avengers AI. And I think... Oh, and then Molly, I told you about this. Yeah. Molly, the itty-bitty, the youngest of all of them with super strength, which makes my day. She shows up in... this new crossover that is now in trade, X-Men Battle for the Atom, which if you want to talk about time travel bullshit, that's all that book is.
I feel like the X-Men do a lot of time travel bullshit.
They do. It's kind of cool to unite like all 3 X-Men teams, but then they recruit like a 4th and a 5th, all from different times, and it's
just getting out of hand.
It's a time and it just gets tough to... It's very pretty, but it's tough to actually keep up. Mm-hmm. It's fun to see because at one moment, though, you see, like, all 3 levels of Iceman. Because, like, we have main Iceman, who's pretty badass. You know, he's got the icicles, like, everywhere. And he's kind of like, I'm Iceman. I'm pretty good at what I do. I've been an X-Men forever. And then we have young, like, original Iceman being like, I'm still kind of cool. I can throw snowballs.
I'm a groovy dude.
So, like, when this all starts off, like, the first X-Men team from the future shows up. And there's, like, we meet, like, old Deadpool, Molly... an old Rogue, I think, and then there's this giant ice monster, and they're all just kind of and both Bobbies are like, is this me? And they're like, hi, me, and he goes, and they're like, oh, but then later on, like, we find out that's not really the X-Men, you know, they're the Brotherhood or whatever, so the real X-Men come over, and it's another version of Bobby, and he's like an ice Gandalf, like he has the wizard staff and this big ice beard,
that's
and they're all like, wait, you? And he's like, yes. And they're like, then who's other ice guy? You don't want to know. And they talk to him a bit at the very end, like, as they're getting away to go to the future or whatever. But a great moment is he looks at, you know, like, main Iceman that we're used to, and he just goes, Bobby, as soon as you can, start growing a beard. The ladies love it. And he disappears. And I was like, oh, this was great.
nerds.
Just for this moment. All the Iceman stuff is really good, even though there's like none of it.
That's great.
So, I don't know. It's a new trade. It's worth checking out if you like X-Men, but there's a lot of time nonsense.
Yeah.
Ugh. And that's all it's been.
So, man, this week Walking Dead is pretty intense.
What's been going on in Walking Dead? I only read it through the trades, and in the last trade they were getting ready to go to war with cool Tiger Chieftain.
Yeah.
Man,
well, if you don't mind me spoiling,
please do. Yeah, like
I'll make it quick because
I'll read it anyway.
But, Tiger Chief guy ends up being a pretty cool dude and sides with Rick.
Yeah, I thought he was actually a really cool dude.
Yeah. So Tiger Dude's people and Rick's people and the Hilltop people are all basically the Hilltop people are kind of
and the
wanting to start on the sideline because we don't want to fuck with Negan. But they're going to.
That guy's crazy.
He is crazy. But Rick and Tiger people are all like, all right, we're gonna take the fight to Negan. And what they end up doing is they basically, through some convoluted means, storm Negan's village, but they end up just breaking down some fences and shit and letting a bunch of roamers in, and then they just drive off and haul ass.
Holy crap! That's awesome.
There's just a bunch of fucking zombies in Negan's place now, and he's like, fucking guys.
But in
this last issue, he finally managed to retaliate a little bit. Negan's army comes over to Rick's place and just starts throwing grenades over the walls.
Holy crap!
And so Rick's village is just starting to burn down and explode around him, and Heath, the black dude, loses one of his legs.
Okay.
The doctor lady got bit.
Oh,
so she's
shit!
probably fucked.
Probably.
And then at the end of this last issue, Rick just passed out for whatever the fuck reason. So
Rick's been doing a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of smoke in there right now.
Oh, so, sure, yeah.
So we don't know what's up with that, but the last panel, because The Walking Dead loves its cliffhangers and shit, is Negan talking to his people, and they're like, so what are we going to do? What are we going to prepare for the next wave? And Negan's like, what do you mean next wave? You see all that fucking smoke over there? Unless you see any firefighters around here, that shit means we just won. And
he's got a point, yeah.
But we're only 6 of 12 issues into All Out War. Wow. So I don't think he's won yet.
There's
still 6 issues left.
That's awesome.
But it's been good. It was an intense fucking issue because it's right from jump. Just immediately start throwing grenades in. It's just the whole book is just people running away from fire and explosions and getting blown up, and it was
Walking
bananas.
Dead's been, just in my opinion, consistently good.
Walking Dead has been consistently great the entire time it's been going.
Oh yeah,
there's been arcs that have been better than others.
Yeah, but that goes for every comic, I feel like.
Yeah, but I mean, there's never been a time when I've thought Walking Dead's kind of bad right now.
Yeah,
and I think it's one of those things where it's just
has it always been the same writer also?
Yeah, it's always been Kirkman. And I think that's exactly my point, is if you keep these things in the hands of their creators...
Oh, yeah.
Or just in the hands of whichever really competent writer you have going, I think you can expect consistent quality. We were just talking the other day...
We were, yeah.
How Ultimate Spider-Man's coming up on issue 200, and that's 200 issues of Bendis.
Oh, yeah.
And no one else touching that book.
Brian Michael Bendis.
And much like Walking Dead, that's been one of the most consistent books of the last decade and coming up on decade and a half. So, it's one of those things. If you have a competent writer working this thing, and in the case of Kirkman and Bendis, the people who created these properties.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Bendis didn't create Spider-Man, but he created Ultimate Spider-Man.
He created Ultimate Spider-Man.
He was basically given, free play. We're going to give you a Spider-Man reboot. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Do what you want, and it turned out to become a whole universe.
He's become the ringmaster of the Ultimate Universe,
which is great.
So that's always been great. Walking Dead's always been great because these guys
have always been in the ring.
Hold on to their shit. Jake's telling me all the time the Jeff Johns run of Green Lantern is for the most part very, very good.
The Jeff Johns run is
great.
Yeah.
Again, that's a long run. He was writing Green Lantern for a long time, but Jeff Johns is a very good writer.
Yes,
so
he is.
It stands to reason.
There's a reason why he's the creative mastermind behind DC right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're basically talking about the Grand Lords of each side right now.
Yeah. The lore masters, if you will.
And I love Jeff Johns. I didn't know shit about Jeff Johns until I started reading comics this last year. But with him writing Aquaman and
his take on Aquaman's
some
fantastic.
of the Flash, Justice League, Green Lantern, I'm not a huge fan of, but it's not because of him. It's just
it's tough to get it. It's a lot.
It's really hard to just jump right into if you're not familiar with the deep lore of Green Lantern, especially because that's one of the few books they didn't so much reboot.
No, he tried to make everything make sense
because he knew he was only going to do 20 more issues of it or whatever. So they basically said, okay, you don't have to bother rebooting your shit. Just finish Green Lantern the way you want to finish Green Lantern. So that's part of it is because I kind of just started using the New 52 and Marvel Now as my jump-in points.
It's a good jump-in point, honestly.
But, Green Lantern issue 1 of New 52 is not necessarily a great jump-in point because it's still Jeff Johns writing his Green Lantern stories. So,
well, you said, that's issue 0 was a great one to start off with.
Yeah. Because that gives you a new Green Lantern to follow.
Yeah.
If you don't know shit about any of them, reading Simon Baz is probably a good idea. And he's a good character. I honestly need to read more of whatever book he's part of because
the sad part is he was created for that arc, and then the arc ended, and now it's just Hal Jordan again. So the only book that Simon has been showing up in lately has been Justice League of America,
JLA,
which is funny because it's still Jeff Johns writing.
You'd think considering they have 5 Green Lantern books, they'd find one to put him in.
How many do they have? They have Green Lantern Corps, New Guardians, Red Lantern, which is a book, and Larfleeze now, which I have not read.
So there's 3 Green Lantern books and then 2 other lanterns.
2 other books,
but you'd think there's space for this new guy.
This really cool guy,
pretty well received.
Yeah, but being trained by a space squirrel.
I guess having him in JLA is cool too.
I just like it because it's still I find it funny how Jeff Johns is all right, I'm done writing Green Lantern. I'm just going to keep writing Green Lantern as another character in my other books. I just enjoy that.
I almost have a feeling they couldn't find anything to do with Simon Bass. They were just putting him on the sidelines, and Jeff Johns was like, fuck that, I'm going to bring him into my book.
Yeah.
I like Simon Bass. I thought I did a great job making him, thank you. All right, so we're about at time. Is there any book this week that you just want to throw out a mention to?
As always,
I think I just did mine. I think Walking Dead was the best.
That's a great one
this week. And
as always, I'm going to recommend. This is we're going to start off the last Superior Spider-Man arc. This one that he's been building towards. So Goblin Nation has gotten started. They already put out a little bit of Goblin Nation stuff in Team Up, which is pretty good. Shoot, I had other things I was going to say. I mentioned to you this briefly. We have a weird crossover between All New X-Men and Guardians of the Galaxy. I think mostly because Bendis writes both of them.
I saw a panel for that today.
Did you?
I should show it to you. It's pretty great.
All right, you might have. Getting excited for the changes in Guardians of the Galaxy because I want to see Venom in space.
Yeah. Space Venom.
Space Venom.
In his natural habitat.
Which is gonna be cool. Which is gonna be damn cool.
I told you about how in one of the later Nova issues from the 07 run, he ends up fighting a symbiote creature.
Does he really?
Yeah, they're invading this planet. This guy's got some guards or whatever, and one of his guards is a symbiote dude. And I'm like, that makes sense because they're from space.
That's really cool.
I never even considered it, but yeah, I guess the symbiote would be a pretty big part of Cosmic Marvel if they wanted to use it.
Nice. The last thing I wanted to mention was they've finally been putting solicits for covers after all of this Forever Evil stuff is done.
Ugh.
And I mentioned this to you briefly. We're getting a brand new Justice League team, and by brand new I mean there's just a couple big changes.
Yeah, I heard
team's roster. It's Lex Luthor leading the Justice League, which makes me really interested because they haven't done much with him except in Forever Evil.
Yeah,
in the New 52.
Forever Evil has really been his kind of
it's been his
moment.
Finally we're using Lex Luthor. So it's going to have Lex leading it. Batman, I think Wonder Woman. Yeah, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg. Shazam, which I'm happy to see that he's finally part of a book because he's only had backstories of Justice League which have been pretty good. They're all in a big trade now called Shazam, and I think they're pretty decent. And Captain Cold from Flash, and it's just kind of a weird change up to the team. I find it really interesting how there's no Superman. I feel like that's more of a.
There's no Flash.
There's no Flash.
Yeah,
I feel like that's Superman's always for sure identified with that, and I know Flash is too, but it's just one of those holy crap. So.
The dynamic's going to have to be interesting because with them writing Hal Jordan out a while ago, and if Flash is also leaving the team, that kind of leaves the.
That's a lot of their comic relief.
Yeah, it leaves the light-hearted members of the Justice League kind of pushed to the side and replaced by Lex Luthor, who's kind of an asshole, and Captain Cold, who's kind of an asshole, and Shazam, who's not funny. So
it really isn't.
So I'm interested to see the dynamic. I don't know if I like it.
I think
we'll get immediately thinking about it, but if they can do something cool with it, I'm definitely going to see it.
The only thing that I'm really liking the dynamic idea of is Lex being on the same team with Batman.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten a couple cool moments out of those two, but I don't know. I just think that's kind of a cool change. If you think that's a cool change, why not talk to us?
Yeah, give us a comment.
Give us a call. We love to comment. But
all right,
that's my plugs. Yeah.
So that's it for another exciting episode of Comics and Coffee. Stay tuned for next week when there will be a new episode of Work in Progress and a new episode of Comics and Coffee to follow that. And until then, I guess that's all we've got. Starting across the table from me,
I'm Mitch.
And I'm Andrew. Thank you all for listening, and have a great weekend.